Some of you may wonder what to do with all those green tomatoes. So I'm going to show you today with my friend Valerie what we do with these green tomatoes. The first thing you need to do is wash them, and I've got a little scrubby here. Get all the dirt and grime off. Make sure they're not bruised and there's not any damaged parts. Pop the stem off if there's any left on there. Just get them good and clean. We're going to can some sliced so that I can use them later on as fried green tomatoes. We're going to slice these tomatoes about a 1/4 inch thick. We're taking the core out. When you're looking for tomatoes to can, you want to find those that will fit in a wide mouth jar. Now you can see here we had a little bit of trouble putting some of these larger tomatoes in the wide mouth jars. We were hoping we could just slide the jar over the stack of tomatoes, but that didn't work. We ended up sorting through the tomatoes and getting the ones that would fit, and these will shrink quite a bit once they are processed in the canner. So we actually could, in hindsight, put a little bit more in these. I did sterilize these jars. I didn't have time to run them through the dishwasher on the Sterilize cycle. Be really careful when you're doing this, not to burn yourself. So in these jars, I'm going to use citric acid instead of lemon juice because I don't want to alter the flavor. So it was a teaspoon of citric acid per pint jar. And you can use lemon juice, but that's the only ingredient in these is a citric acid and water. Now the recipe that I'm following, I found on YouTube, and Carol from the Thrifty Chick Housewife actually did these. So once we got the tomatoes in there, we poured in some boiling water and then we debubbled to get all the bubbles out. Quite a few bubbles in there, as you can see. So we took our time and really worked on getting all the bubbles out. And I just used a plastic knife. Once the water goes down, you'll have to add some more water and then just keep debubbling until you don't see any more bubbles. Make sure you wipe your rims off. And this is a good time, as always, to check to see if there's any cracks. Then we're placing our lids on and then our bands finger tight. After you place your jars in your canner, put your lid on snugly, turn it on high and wait for the air to start venting out. After it's vented at a good steady rate for 10 minutes, put your weight on. While those are pressure canning, we're going to start a brine for our dilled green pickles. The first ingredient is 3½ cups of vinegar. And you can use either type of vinegar. We're just using the white distilled. You do want to make sure that it is at least 5% acidic. And then 3½ cups of water and 1/4 cup of canning salt. You want to bring this to a boil and let that salt dissolve. While that's coming to a boil, we're going to prepare our jars with garlic, some fresh dill, and we're putting about 2 sprigs in there. Some peppercorns, some mustard seed, and I always use this pickle crisp. It just tends to make anything that I'm pickling crisper. We're going to add 1 bay leaf to each jar. And again, we wanted to put the whole slice of tomato in there, but our tomato slices were too big, so we had to cut them in half. And we're packing them in the jars rather tightly. And again, this is Valerie. You've seen her in my salsa videos and different things. She is my neighbor, and she has really taken upon herself to learn how to can and preserve this year, and she's done a great job. Now that our brine mixture has come to a boil and the salt is completely dissolved. Next, we're going to ladle this brine mixture into the jars, and you want to leave a 1/4 inch headspace. So because of the vinegar and the brine, these tomato pickles can actually be water bathed. And we're using the recipe out of the Ball Blue Book. We are customizing it by adding the peppercorns and yellow mustard seed and the pickle crisp. Be sure to wipe your rims, make sure there's no debris, and then apply your 2-piece bands, the lid and the band, finger tight. And always remember to go ahead and start your water while you're getting everything together, because it has to come to a rapid boil before you start your timer. You want to process these 15 minutes in a boiling water canner. And again, do not start the timer until you have a rapid boil. Sliced tomatoes for frying have finished processing. I have let the canner come down to 0, and now I'll remove my weight and my lid. When removing the lid, always lift it away from you so that steam does not hit you in the face. Remove your jars with your jar lifter, and as you notice, the tomatoes have all risen to the top. That's okay. Once they have cooled off, they will go back down to the bottom. You want to let these sit undisturbed on your kitchen counter for 12 to 24 hours and then check your seals. You can see here the next day, after they've cooled for 12 to 24 hours, they did go down to the bottom. I've got adequate coverage of liquid. Meanwhile, our pickled tomatoes are coming to a rolling boil. After processing for 15 minutes at a rolling boil, you can remove them from your canner with your jar lifter. And you want to wait a couple of weeks before you eat these to let all those flavors join together. Oh, aren't those pretty? And here I'm checking the seals on these as well. And no casualties here. And last but very important, always label your jars and put the date. Now, I have been told these really, after about a year, kind of get soggy. So Valerie and I have this recipe, and we're going to have 4 apiece, which should be plenty. And if they do well, then next year I'll know to can more.